Hello, class. Hopefully, you all are doing fine. You should have received an email through Canvas and also an announcement in Canvas as to the syllabus and the amendment of the syllabus as to how we're going to progress throughout the rest of the semester. But today's lesson is on the if-else statement. All right. And it says that the if else statement will execute one group of statements if an expression is true, or another group of statements if the expression is false. Right? So if you look at the area that's boxed in blue, it says the if else statement is an expression of the if statement, right? It's an expansion of the if statement because the simple if statement asks the question, and if it's true, and it's just going to execute that body of statements. But the if else statement will execute something if it's true, but then if it's false, it's going to just execute those false statements. All right. So if we look at this example, it says if, and whatever the expression is, could be anything. It could say y greater than 5, amount not equal to 3, anything. So whatever that expression is, if whatever the expression, and if it's true, it's going to perform whatever's in the default or in the block of statements. All right. But if it's not true, all right, it's false, it's going to skip the true body and it's going to perform the else block of statements. Okay. So it says, as with the if statement, an expression is evaluated. If the expression is true, all right, a statement, a statement or block of statements is executed. If the expression is false, however, a separate group of statements is executed. Okay, so let's look at this example right quick. This example determines whether or not evaluates if a number is even or odd. Okay, now the thing is, though, they had to have an expression to determine whether that number was even or odd. And there's several ways to do it, but they chose to use the modulus. Right? Remember, modulus returns the remainder, right, of an expression. So if you look here, it says enter an integer, and I will tell you if it is odd or even. Okay, so and then cin the number. So look at line 14. It says if number modulus 2 equals 0, any number divisible by 2, all right, evenly, is considered to be an even number. So if number modulus 2 equals 0, so example, we put 10 in. 10 modulus 2 is what? 0. So if number modulus 2 equals 0, then it will see out the number which we said 10 is even. All right. But then it has an else. But it will not even perform that else because what? It performed the true condition. So that's how the if else work. If we were to put in the number 13, so when we did the CN number and we entered 13, 13 modulus 2 is 1. How do we know that? 13 divided by 2 then when you divide 13 by 2, you'll get 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 12 from 13 gives you a remainder of 1. It's kind of like the long division, all right? So if num modulus 2 equals 0 and we put in 13 for number, it would be false, and then we would get num, which with 13 is odd, right? So if we look down at the output shows that if you were to input 17, then it would equate to, it would output 17 is odd. Okay, so let's go to online GDB and write a little simple program dealing with an if logic. All right. So let's look at this small program. Here we have a small program to where we have x equaling to 10. But then we have a if statement here. If x is greater than or equal to 5, all right? Then we have a true condition, but then we have what? And else. So we have a if, else, right? So if this is true, do this. Else, do this. We're not doing both of them. We're only doing one or the other. But now, if you notice at the bottom, we have see out the program has terminated. Notice it's not in the body of the true and it's not in the body of the else. So what happens? We'll execute this true condition if it's true, and then we'll come all the way down and then start executing, continuing our program. So it will execute this statement. If it's false, it will skip this, execute this statement, then get out of the body, and then continue on with the program. So we have x equaling to 10. So if x is greater than or equal to 5, is 10 greater than or equal to 5? That is true. So we would output what? X is greater than or equal to 5. It will skip the else, and then in the output, the program has terminated. So if we run this, x is greater than or equal to 5, the program has terminated. All right. So remember, I could change this though. Now I change x to be 1. If I execute this program, now we will get a different result. It will check if x is greater than or equal to 5. 1 greater than or equal to 5. 1 is not greater than or equal to 5. So therefore, it will skip this true condition, and it will perform this false condition. All right, this body of text or statements. And so it will output x is not greater than or equal to 5, all right, in the body, and then continue on with the program, and it will see out this, the program has terminated, and do the return 0, and the program has ended. So let's run it now. And you see that we will get x is not greater than or equal to 5 because x is 1. Now, I could have printed out the number, the value for x, but I just did it this way to save a little time. All right? So that's the if statement. So let's go back to our notes. All right? So it says the else part at the end of the if statement specifies a statement that is to be executed when the expression is false, okay? When number modulus 2 does not equal 0, a message is printed indicating that the number is odd, okay? So it says, note that the program will only take one of two paths, not both, one of two. So if it's true, we'll do the true, but if it's not, we'll only do the false, all right? Okay, now, if we look at our flowchart logic, you've initialized your or you're given a number value by inputting a value for num, but you've also declared num to be either int or float or whatever. But at this point, well, no int, but at this point, once num is entered, now you ask the question: is number modulus 2 equal to 0? They put in 17. 17 modulus 2 is 1. So what? It goes to the false logic and actually output the 17 as odd. But if we were to input 10, and then 10 modulus 2 would give us 0, then it will perform the true logic and then continue on with the program. Okay? So that's basically what the if else logic is. All right. So it says, notice the programming style used to construct the if else statement. The word else is at the same level, all right, of indentation as the if. Now, class, remember we talked about programming logic. You can have all your statements on one line. You don't have to have them in a certain column. but it makes it a whole lot easier to debug if you can see the level of which your ifs are. So if you look here, I have if, all right, and then my open curly brace on the same level. Else goes with this if, and this same level. So this kind of keeps you in line because I could have other ifs. I could have 10 different ifs in here and 10 different open and closed curly braces. If I have them all on the same in the same column, then it makes it hard to know where one end and one begin. All right. So be aware of that. Okay. Um, so let's look at this, okay? This program actually uses for two numbers. So what happens here is we should know that in mathematics, you cannot divide a number by zero and get a true number. The number is undefined, all right? You can't solve that, all right? So this program, what it does, it allows the user to input two numbers, all right? Once they input the two numbers, they use the second number as the denominator. So what happens, it asks if the second number, which would be used as a denominator, is equal to zero. Because it could be any other number, positive or negative, other than zero, right? And you can get a result. But if it's zero, it's undefined. So to protect against you getting an error message saying that this value is undefined, and then you're using it, trying to use that value later on in another expression, you can use something like this. So if we look at this program, we have double, num1, num2, and then quotient. So num1 and num2 are values that's going to be inputted. Quotient will be a value that will be produced based on our expression. So enter a number and then cin num1. So num1 is entered. Then cout enter another number. Then it says cin num2. So now num2 is entered. So you have num1 and num2 entered into the values entered for them. But notice here, if num2 is equal to zero. So now this is where it's checking to see if num2, which is your denominator, is zero. If it is zero, you outputting this message. The division by zero is not possible. Please run the program again and enter a number other than zero. All right. So that's what you would get if num2 was zero. If num2 was any other number, you would get your results. All right. But if num2 is anything other than zero, it would perform this expression where it would quotient is equal to num1 divided by num2, and then it would output the quotient of num1, which whatever you put in, divided by then num2 is, and then quotient. And I want you to notice something. Notice how they spaced out the output, because what? They got the quotient of and got a space so that when they output the actual number, it's not close to the F. Notice how they have a space in front of divided by. Divided. That's so that after the number, you got a space when you output divide, and then a space before by, so that when you output num2, it's not next to the Y, and on, so that your output is readable. All right. So you don't see that there because of the value that they put in, but you would see it if you actually typed it in and ran the program. All right. So you have a if it's true, do this. If it's false, you do this. And that's the if else. All right. And it says the value num2 is tested in line 22 before the division is performed. So like I said, it's just kind of like a check. So let's check to see if this number entered can be used to give us a value. If not, and like I say, if it check to see if it was a certain number. And if it was zero, then it can't be used. All right. So if the user enters zero, the line controlled by the if part executed, displaying a message that indicates that the program cannot perform a division by zero. And then otherwise it will go on and perform it and you will get your results. All right. So class, that's the section on the if else. And then hopefully you can grasp it, understand it. Try to type in those programs, do your the checkpoint questions. And next week, on during our class time, hopefully I'll have a video chat where we can talk about the assignment and everybody we can go get online all together and we can talk about the assignment, the different assignments and what type of issues you may be having so we can kind of iron those problems out. So hopefully you're working on your programs, trying to get them in line or in order, and we'll talk about them on Monday. All right, next week. Okay.